And there we go.
Is it recording this time?
It seems to be working better. How's it going, John?
Not too bad. How's it going, Eric?
Doing well. Mostly Security, episode 49.
49. One away from half a century.
Oh, now I feel old.
Well, yeah, we are. Yeah, so let's see. What's up with you? What's new with you this week?
Still more basement stuff. I actually got cement crack filler. Because, now that I pulled up the floor, I found little cracks in the basement, so I'm trying to fill the cracks. And I'm ripped out a whole bunch of stuff off the walls in a closet, and now I have to mud, tape, and what's it called? Texture. So, manual labor.
Uh-huh. Well,
it's all good.
Okay.
Biking in Bend. Oh, by the way, that's right.
Oh yeah, biking. How was biking in Bend?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the bunny slopes.
Yes, we did. We did the green trails. My boy and some buddies. We took the green hills, and we kind of had to walk the bikes up in a few spots because we weren't quite skilled enough. I guess is the right word, to be able to climb to the top while on the bike, but the way down was fun. So it was 3.5 miles up and 3.5 miles down.
Oh my.
And it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. I was batching it this weekend. Shirley was off on a bit of a trip. So it was me and the boys, and then and it was a long weekend, so because we had Veterans Day off, but right. I had a bunch of 11-year-olds here on Saturday to play Magic the Gathering. They were very excited to have a holiday weekend Magic, I'd say tournament, but it was more just like food, snack, candy, pizza, Magic fest.
Right.
And then
right.
On Monday, my older boy had a couple of friends over to they schemed to watch. They wanted to watch anime all day, and they wanted a Miyazaki marathon. To which Shirley, it was kind of funny. Shirley was like, "Well, where are you going to get all the movies?" And Justin was like, "We have them." And Shirley's like, "We have them? What? We have them all?" And she looks at me. I'm like, yes, we have them all. Is there a problem with that? I happen to like them. So his friends were dropped off at literally 8 a.m. and we're here. And Justin woke up early for a weekend to get started on movies. And they pretty much watched movies till about 4 o'clock. But it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. Any weekend. And I guess I didn't get to watch any of the movies, but I was overhearing some of them at least. There's some great movies. I think they watched Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro and The Wind Rises and one other one, I think. Anyway, great movies. Great movies. I don't have any follow-up this week. Do you have any?
I don't either.
Oh, wow.
I'll take a minute. Well, no follow-up. I was gonna make some smart aleck remark, but I'll pass. So let me jump into my first article that I thought was interesting to bring up this week. Cloudflare.
Yeah.
Back on April 1st, we talked about...
Oh, yeah, the 4.1.
The DNS 1.1.1.1, the 4 ones. They launched that service to be able to give you a private DNS request and a secure DNS request to hide that from your ISP. And you can now do that if you download a very simple app for your iPhone or your Android phone. And so...
Interesting.
What Cloudflare has done is built an app that effectively adds a VPN tunnel just to their service. An always-on VPN service that will ping them for the DNS request, and then it uses everything else going out as it normally would. So very cool.
With the always-on VPN, they have the ability to filter network traffic, so they can basically just take only traffic destined for port 53 or something like that?
Yep. So the article that we'll link to doesn't explain that, but I was trying to dig through their website and what they're doing, and I haven't got into the full details, but basically that's what I believe it's doing, is just leveraging as a VPN, leveraging that traffic and routing it to port 53 and then routing everything else as it would normally, which you can do with Apple's APIs, and I assume the Android APIs allow you to do something similar. So I downloaded it on my phone, loaded it up, and I have noticed zero difference in my ability to do anything. So I think I will leave it for a while and see how it works.
Interesting.
One disadvantage to it, though, is if you have a VPN service for your phone that you actually use as a VPN,
yeah,
you can't use them both at the same time. So you can either use the Cloudflare, the DNS, privatizing your DNS traffic, or you could use your VPN.
Interesting.
And so it's on demand, not always on, I guess.
There's no stack of VPN drivers then for network drivers.
No, yeah, you don't say I use this VPN for DNS and this other VPN for all other things. So I also have another VPN. Encrypt.me is a VPN I use on my phone if I'm somewhere and want to route traffic a little more securely. So we'll see how much of a pain it is to swap between the two.
Interesting.
So,
well, that's kind of funny. That is like just an on the side sort of service that it seems like they're using, and I don't know if they're just using it for goodwill and marketing or what, but they've certainly got a lot of mileage out of it.
Yeah, I do wonder what other services they're funding this with. Obviously, they're not doing it for free. At some point, somebody has to pay the bills. But hey, as long as it's functioning, I'm gonna play around with it, see how well it works.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, good for Cloudflare. That's fantastic.
And then I guess my second article, since that was kind of a short one, I don't necessarily need to make them long. But the other one that was maybe a little bit more on the humorous side was a Krebs article I stumbled across about, and the title is Bug Bounty Hunter Ran an ISP Doxing Service. So bug bounties are somewhat popular. AT&T, T-Mobile, a lot of big companies have bug bounty services where if you find a bug and you report that to the big company, they will pay you some amount of money depending on what they believe that bug is worth, to try to encourage people to give them the bugs rather than sell them on the underground market.
Right.
Well, apparently the security researcher has earned and been rewarded bug bounties from T-Mobile and AT&T and apparently other companies. But he was also on the side using the hole that he found to extract data about people. That's the concept of doxing, right? To pull private information and then make it public to someone. Private information on individuals. So he would find these bugs, use them exploit them, and then submit for the bug bounty. And it all stumbled across because Krebs was researching some other completely different story. And when he, dots started to connect between some things, he's like, oh, hey, and here's yet another story.
How does Krebs find so many things? This man must never sleep. Yeah, lots of tips, I'm sure.
Anyways, this guy as well, Krebs obviously a good reporter, keeps all his notes and history. went and dug back through his old stuff and found that he'd actually encountered the guy several years ago with regard to that phony hostage situation where they sent a heavily armed police force to Krebs's home in 2013. And he was part of that. Anyways, these guys online are all out to make a buck somewhere.
Well, yeah, double dipping, yeah.
Yes, playing white hat and black hat.
Wearing both hats. Oh my. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't read that before, but I'm just kind of skimming it here. Man, Krebs seems like he has a couple articles a week that are this. Seems like each one of them should have taken more than like a day to research, and it's impressive. Go Krebs.
Yeah, so those were the two things that caught my eye this week.
Okay,
maybe a little bit of a shorter week for me, but
yeah, this might be an overall shorter week overall too, since I just have one topic. So my topic for this week was Intel CPU vulnerability relating to another side channel attack. So we talked about Spectre and Meltdown earlier in the year, which were side channel attacks in the CPUs. And so this is another side channel.
Related to or completely different?
No, it's completely different. I mean, it's related in the sense that it's a side channel attack, but it's not related to the the Spectre meltdowns. Those were speculative execution. This has to do with the side channel is port contention when two workloads are running on the same physical processor in two different hyper threads. Most Intel CPUs from a number of years, I don't remember when it exactly started, have what's called hyperthreading, and that is the ability for the CPU to pretend that it has more cores than it actually does physically, right? So it'll show up in your computer as 8 CPUs, eight cores, when in reality it only has 4. And the point is, in general, is that the CPU can be smart about when it has to go out and do some work, fetching some memory or something like that that's going to take a long time. It can swap out and execute another thread, even literally at the CPU level, instead of the OS switching between things and having a heavier context switch. So that way the CPUs just pretend to the OS that they have 8 cores. The OS, loads up tasks per core, and then the CPU worries about if it's a virtual core or a hyperthread, the CPU worries about switching context between them. And the thing is the research is about ways that you can essentially force conflict or contention on the ports that the CPU uses to switch the load back and forth between two threads on the same core. And essentially what you're trying to do, like with any side channel attack, what you're trying, you can't directly measure something, so you're trying to figure out its value based on side effects, right? So you're forcing context switches really fast or trying to get the CPU really fast, and then depending on how long it takes for the CPU to release and give back control to you, you can infer what was going on the other thread. The important thing about this is that the trust boundary might not be the same between the thread that you're running the attack on and the thread that's being attacked. And that's really important because, for example, if you're in shared infrastructure, like in AWS or Azure, you might be running a VM, and some of your quote unquote cores could be shared with other VMs. From your perspective, you are walled off. You don't know what else is running on the same host, but the whole point of cloud is to be able to, share that hardware, and any attack that allows data to leak across boundaries like that is potentially very serious. Now, how you would actually, be able to do that in the real world in infrastructure, I don't think is actually explained in this paper per se. Although there was a comment in the Ars article that we'll link.
The Intel statement?
Well, no, it's not the Intel statement. Oh, let's see. Right, a couple paragraphs above that, it says, Brumley said the most likely real-world scenario for maliciously exploiting the vulnerability is in so-called infrastructure as a service environments, in which a cloud provider hosts all the trappings of an on-premise data center, blah, 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 in the virtualization or hypervisor layer. So anyway, that's what makes this an interesting attack and an interesting. I was going to say data exfiltration. That's really data exfiltration, but snooping, I guess. So then the thing that they actually did for the attack is they used OpenSSL, and they basically forced TLS negotiation to occur on one thread while they snooped on the second. So essentially, right. So in order to do this, from a proof of concept standpoint, you've got a little more control over the hardware, so that something's happening. And then I didn't read how many times they had to do that in order to extract the key. It says they extracted a key from OpenSSL. Thought it said how long it was, but I don't see it right in front of me again. So, essentially in that case, they're sort of controlling both sides of it. And yeah, they extract the key by monitoring the port contention. But whether you could do that in a cloud environment, whether it would be practical to do that in a cloud environment, is not clear from this, to my mind. But still, it's an interesting theoretical exploit, an interesting practical, or an interesting practicum, an actual implementation. And the final point that I really thought was interesting here was, so the reason they were able to do that is because OpenSSL. Yes, there we go. Sorry, I had to scroll down. Yeah, so I mean, in order to extract that data via a side channel, you have to have a different performance based on the values of the secrets, right? So let's say your secret is A, B, C, D. In order for me to detect via some side channel whether A is the first key, I'd have to be able to distinguish A from something else, which means that as you're executing, as you're processing that key, you have to have variations in how you process it based on the value of the key, which is essentially the bug. So the bug is that when you're processing key material, you want to have what's called constant time execution, and basically have the number of cycles for every value of the key be processed in the same, or that you want every value of the key to be processed in the same number of cycles. So you can't have branches, for example, that depend on the values of the key, or else you basically are emitting smells that can be smelled by the side channel, a side channel attack. So there's a comment in here that said another approach the authors recommend is for applications to use port independent code which can be achieved through secret independent execution flow secure coding practices, similar to constant time execution. So basically that secret independent execution flow is the important keyword there, I think, which is that, you have to make sure that you don't have any branch logic, that varies based on the value of the key itself. So it'd be interesting to go dig up the actual OpenSSL patch that must have accompanied this in some way. I haven't done that, but anyway, this was an interesting, I thought very interesting because it's totally hardware related. The fact that you're potentially sharing hardware with another untrusted workload is important, and kind of creates the environment in which it's very interesting to hunt for things that you can detect. You're on a CPU and all you're doing is you're listening and for what what's going on around you. So there is let's see, I actually pulled out a quote from the paper itself.
Their proof of concept paper?
Yeah. So it said, let's see, we mount an end-to-end attack that recovers here's the key, a P384 private key from an OpenSSL-powered TLS server using a small number of repeated TLS handshake attempts. Furthermore, we show that traces targeting shared libraries, static builds, and SGX enclaves are essentially identical. Hence, our channel has wide target application. So, interesting. And then there was also a quote in the Ars article that had that said that they didn't see any reason why Ryzen AMD wouldn't also be similarly vulnerable, although they have not had a opportunity to implement that because they don't have that hardware. So I'll go ahead and put the link into this core, the actual paper itself as well.
I look forward to the JavaScript implementation released on GitHub anytime.
There was at least one comment in the article that said there's no reason to expect that a JavaScript implementation being running in the browser should be possible to do that, because they had to write their exploit in assembly language. So I don't know, maybe you could do it in WebAssembly.
But the second part of that sentence is, given the ability of Spectre to be exploited in JavaScript, it remains a possibility.
Oh, sure. Well, I don't know. I view that as, can I teleport 3 centimeters to the left? It is a possibility. If all the atoms in my body simultaneously just jiggy-jog to the left, yes. But the chance of that happening is very small. Because given the things that are being done in JavaScript these days.
Yes.
Wait till my something fun.
Well, do you want to just go into your JavaScript abomination?
JavaScript abomination. Don't. That wouldn't be the lead. That's not bearing the lead. What do you say when you pull the lead up and shove it into neon? It's not a JavaScript abomination anyway. Okay, my something fun this week is a new programming language. And it's not JavaScript, although it runs in the browser. And it's implemented in JavaScript.
It's like Node's not JavaScript, it's just implemented in JavaScript.
So it's JavaScript once removed or something. Okay, so...
But they got a cool name.
They do have a cool name. The name is Whistle. So this is the web high-level shading language. So I don't know. I just thought this was cool. But the link we'll put in the show notes is to a page on webkit.org. So, WebKit is really kind of stewarded by Apple.
Mm-hmm.
This is a special language for developing graphics shaders. So there's been a whole bunch of work being done to basically turn the browser into an operating system.
Netscape's dream finally being
I know,
realized.
right? I know. So, there's WebGL, the web graphics language, right? And
Uh-huh.
this is a way, to develop shaders, which are used in graphics programming, uh, directly in the browser. And the problem, so the link that we'll put in here is to essentially a rationale document. There's a whole bunch of rationale of why did we do this? Because you should never develop a new language if at all possible. So why did we do this? And so they talk about what sort of the motivation is, and the core thing is, I think, is the first requirement about safety, because you're running inside the browser. So if you don't take safety into account, meaning language safety, so that you can't, for example, try to dereference something that shouldn't be readable, and try and escape and either get to data or write data that you shouldn't be able to, that's problematic. And then it needs to there's a whole bunch of info here about sort of the motivations, and then they go through existing languages that are similar or have similar goals. And essentially the one that they are inspired by was the high level shading language, HLSL, which is what Direct 3D shaders are written in. And it says here it's currently the most popular real-time shading language in the world, and there are multiple implementations, but there's no formal specification. So they adopted its syntax as much as possible. And in fact, farther down below where they get to the examples, they provide examples that are valid HLSL and are basically no syntax change to use in the whistle, WHLSL. So I'm sure that's not the case at the boundaries. I'm sure there's complicated things where there's exceptions that you have to pay attention to, whether it's with types or operators. But anyway, I'm not a graphics programmer. I don't even play one on TV. I have downloaded Ubiquity and written minor toy games that followed some tutorials just for the fun of it. But in general, I just thought this was something cool that kind of came across my feed this week that is really sick. It'll be interesting to see how this is used in another year or two to dramatically increase performance of especially 3D graphics in the browser.
Yes. Yeah. All this to make your 2D monitor appear three-dimensional.
Well, remember at WWDC this year with the is it AR? Yeah, with ARKit.
Yeah, ARKit.
Apple released a new composite file format for 3D objects. Apple's worried about performance with virtual or augmented reality. They want ARKit to be really fast on phones as well as computers, and they want to be able to render these 3D image file formats performantly in the browser, and that includes being needing to shade them and so anyway, I'm connecting the dots with this being kind of part of Apple's real push for ARKit, honestly, but I don't know if that's the case.
My Something Fun has absolutely nothing to do with shading.
Well, no shade for you.
It might be shady. So the country of Sweden has gone cashless. Almost. Sweden, there is Swedish legislation that allows retailers, restaurants, and other companies to refuse to accept cash.
Wow.
So a lot of retailers and restaurants, etc., are saying up front, if you want to, buy our services, eat our food, whatever, we do not take cash. It's like here in the States, you see the no checks or credit cards or, cash only. They've gone the opposite direction. And there's an instant payment app called Swish, which that's just a cool instant payment app. Swish has been downloaded by more than half the population there in Sweden.
Isn't that a Dr. Seuss? That sounds
Swish?
like a Dr. Seuss word.
So, anyways, I found this interesting and kind of cool because Sweden is basically now debating should they build the e-kroner. So the Swedish currency is the kroner. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Krona. Krona. K-R-O-N-A. Okay. And they want to build a digital currency called the e-krona. And you know what they're not talking about building it on?
A blockchain?
Blockchain. You know what? You can actually build a currency without a blockchain. They have all the technology to do it.
But so why would they even need to build an e-krona? Why? I mean, what's wrong with the existing banking system, I guess?
So I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, it's interesting to think of. I'm eagerly awaiting the day when I don't have to carry a wallet for credit cards or anything like that. I've got my phone, I've got my watch. That's all I need to do.
Anyway, so I thought this article was interesting. The key point there was apparently they've figured out a way to build a digital currency without a blockchain. So it is possible, and we don't have to rely on blockchains for all our digital currency desires.
Yes. When there is a actual authority that's trusted, that is the easiest way to do it.
Well, that's it. That's all I got.
That's all you. Okay, but that is kind of fun. Yeah. So Sweden. So I must say I have actually been to Sweden. Sweden was pretty cool. I two comments about Sweden. One, everybody spoke English, which as a non-foreign language speaking, American, was very handy for me. And B, I kind of got surprised when they put moose tartare on my plate, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm eating raw moose now. Anyway.
Well, come on, you're from Alaska. That should have been just like back home.
No, you cook moose. You cook.
Oh.
It's more the raw than the moose.
Okay.
All right, man. Shall we call it a show?
Yeah, longer than we thought.
I thought we would be done at 25 minutes, but all right.
Whatever.
It is what it is. All right. Have a good night, Eric.
See you, John.
Bye.